If you're a Jet fan today, you would be a lot more happier than you were at the end of last season. With all the draft stock that they added in this offseason, adding Sauce and Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall and all the guys, all the studs that they brought in, and even in free agency, bringing in Laken Tomlinson and the tight end duo in Conklin and Osama, the linebacking problem the Jets had going into the offseason has been real. And a lot of people were wondering, where are they going to go at linebacker? I mean, C.J. Mosley's there. He's a Pro Bowl type of linebacker, fantastic player, getting paid a lot of money, and this could be the last year that the Jets keep him in that lineup unless he takes a little bit of a undergrade, but I don't know if he will. And then adding Quentin Williams' brother Quincy, he's really shown that he can play. By the way, thank you to the Jaguars for giving him up, but that's just another stupid move by the great organization in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Before we continue with the Jets, let me just mention, guess who's already dropping passes for the Jaguars in their training camp? Evan Engram!
Wonderful. Hot Hands is back. But on Thursday, there was a story that the Jets were coming to a contract with Kwon Alexander, who played for the Saints last year, only played 8 games, was not 100% healthy. But when he is healthy, he is one of the best linebackers in the league. He's one of the better tacklers in the league. The guy can play every single linebacker position, middle, outside. He can blitz the quarterback. He can do everything. And he can stop the run, which the Jets had a problem with, which crazy. They had a problem with it last year with Quentin Williams and the players that they had. But if you look at this defense from what they were last year, they are light years better. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed on both sides. You have Bryce Hall now. You can move anywhere you want on the slot. Anybody gets hurt. They've got Carter, corner, who played very well in the slot last year, a lot better than anybody thought. Eccles. This is a great secondary, a lot of depth in the set, probably the most depth in the NFL. You look at the safety positions, Jordan Whitehead. A lot of people think will fit this defense, especially Robert Saleh, for what he does with the safeties. And you have guys coming back in the secondary who could, if they could stay healthy, could be a big part of where this secondary could be. And now you're hearing they could be interested in Bates, the safety from the Bengals. If they somehow pull the trigger on this, and Jessie Bates is probably a top 3 safety in football, if they can pull this and not have to pay him a guy over there in Seattle kind of money, Adams himself, I think the Jets could go down in the offseason as having one of the best offseasons on the defensive side of the ball, Speedy, than we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, they would not have a significant hole if they were to bring in a safety of that magnitude in Bates. Now, it will be tough because I think the Bengals are going to be asking for a lot if they aren't able to sign him. I think they will end up signing him. I think it's just a matter of he's trying to get top 5 safety money, and with Minkah Fitzpatrick's contract, with Budda Baker's last year, I think they're trying to resolve it the same
And a guy
way.
named Adams over there.
Yes.
I don't even want to mention his first name. I call him a guy named Adams because I can't stand it.
I think at that point, with the way he played last year, he might be more of the exception to the market, but there are other good safeties that are going to be in that realm that Bates is going to be wanting to get paid, and also on the Chargers and Derwin James as well. When he's healthy, he's been dominant, one of the best safeties in football.
He is the best safety in football.
So Bates is kind of looking for that ballpark. So again, the Bengals are going to make it tough for the Jets. As far as Kwon Alexander, I love this move for a 1-year deal. The money has not been disclosed yet, but the reason I like it a lot is he's a kind of different type of linebacker of what C.J. Mosley is. So I think they're going to counter each other well when it comes to play calls and being able to do things in different packages. Now, Robert Saleh always has been more of a guy that's prioritized the nickel defenses in comparison to a base 4-3 or a comparison to blitzing in the front 7, because Robert Saleh's defenses have, I think, the 2nd or 3rd lowest blitz rate. Kwon Alexander, though, is a guy that can...
He doesn't like to blitz.
No. Zone coverage, though, I love with Kwon Alexander, and he's more of the speed zone coverage guy in comparison to C.J. Mosley, who's a little more of the physical type. So I think that counters each other well. Both of them can stop the run well. Again, it's just a matter of the same kind of thing with injuries, same kind of thing with C.J. Mosley. Kwon Alexander missed a lot of games in the 49ers Super Bowl season, but only played 8 for the Saints last year. The Jets have a lot of guys to help the depth there anyway because of the safeties. You mentioned Jordan Whitehead, DJ Reed. Also, they get LaMarcus Joyner back, who I don't love as a safety, but it could be a good slot corner.
If he stays healthy, LaMarcus Joyner's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good hitter. He fits what Robert Saleh likes to run.
I always thought he was better as a slot corner, but DJ Reed can also be that too, and then he could be a safety. So they have a lot of options there. Jordan Whitehead is a good box safety run defense type. And I think a lot of the reason also the run defense was down last year for the Jets in comparison to previous years, they had a lot of injuries on the interior defensive line too. In addition to Quinn Williams, you got Sheldon Rankins too, John Franklin Myers, who just got paid last year, who played kind of up and down since he got his contract. But if those guys stay healthy, that interior defensive line becomes a lot more formidable. They added Solomon Thomas in the offseason, so they have more depth in that area to be able to caution for the injuries. So you have a lot of guys that are injury prone, but none of them are on big deals where you have to worry about it too much. And I think, like I was saying with the offense, adding the tight ends, you now add another concept to that defense, which is lacking. A speed coverage guy that's a great tackler against the run in Kwon Alexander and helps counter the skill set of CJ Mosley very well.
You look at where the Jets are from what they were last year. They're a better team, really an organization that knows what they're doing now. Now, Joe Douglas has slowly but surely been not quiet this offseason, and it's all going to depend on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is going to have to show up every day, make the throws, get the ball out of his hand as quick as he possibly can, and make sure that he gets the completed pass. If he does that, I think this team is going to be a lot better than people think they're going to be. I think they could be a 9-10 win season. Light years from what they were last year. Yep. Now, they have to stay healthy. This is a big problem for the Jets over the last couple of years. Health has been a concern. Losing Carl Lawson in OTAs last year was horrible. He didn't even have a preseason. You have to keep your most dominant players healthy. And I've heard Carl Lawson, even though they're not even playing with pads, they start with pads on Monday. He looks fast. He looks healthy. That's something you have to look forward to in an offseason where the Jets had nothing to brag about last year. Everybody says they brought in Carl Lawson. There was nothing in the offseason last year that really stood out to us after losing Carl Lawson. As far as what's happened so far in football, DK Metcalf gets an extended contract from the Seattle Seahawks. We expected that. He wanted to be traded. Now he looks like he's very happy. He got a $70 million contract for 3 years. Do you think DK Metcalf is the best wide receiver in football? The answer would be no. Do I think he's a top 10 talent? I do. And Russell Wilson's going to miss him going over there to Denver. But I don't think he's going to be hardened to say that he's not going to get enough wide receiver play on the outside over there, something that he didn't have in depth over there with Seattle. But not surprised, Speedy, he got the contract. I wonder, what are your plans with the quarterback play? Drew Lock is not the guy. More than likely, they're going to have to go after a quarterback next year. The draft is loaded with them, supposedly. Jimmy Garoppolo is still out there. Why not bring in Jimmy for a year? I think it makes a lot of sense. Bring in a veteran quarterback. Bring in a quarterback that has actually won before. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but he has won. I would trust in a guy that has won than trust in a guy that's never won. You gave Tyler Lockett the extension, you give DK Metcalf that extension, and you have nobody to get him the ball. So what does that do for you this year? You're throwing away money from an organization that's had problems giving money to their players. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it seemed like for a while the Seahawks were very well run in terms of they didn't give a lot of money to their players. They were able to balance it out, draft well, get guys to fit that defense on its peak. And their offense, they were able to just make it work with Russell Wilson creating and Marshawn Lynch doing his thing. But now, since Marshawn Lynch has been gone, Russell Wilson has really been the focal point. He's played well individually, but the Seahawks really haven't gone anywhere as a team. And now they're really having trouble getting that. When they haven't drafted well, they draft very weird, and now all of a sudden it's starting to catch up to them, and now they've gone to the other extreme, where we were talking about Jamal Adams before. They gave a big contract to him. They gave big contracts to some of their other defensive players that just aged out. Lockett, they got a contract. I thought he deserved his contract. And DK Metcalf, he got a big contract. I think they had to overpay a little bit in order to keep him, just to not have to trade him and trade him for barely anything. Yeah, $72 million for a 3-year deal, $24 million a year. The highest signing bonus, $30 million in NFL history for a wide receiver, which is insane for a guy that he's been steadily good in the touchdown department, 7, 10, and 12 in his 3 years in the league. And I think consistency-wise, close to 1,000 yards every year. But game to game is still where he's got to be a little more consistent as a whole, because in certain games he's disappeared, and that's been a big sign for why the Seahawks haven't won playoff games since he's come into that. And that was always a big weakness for Seattle going back. You're talking about it with receiving depth. Russell Wilson at the beginning of his career barely had anybody, and then it becomes a big strength of their team, and they still can't go anywhere. And NFL, that wide receivers are being a lot more prioritized, but we'll have to see about that. As far as the quarterbacks, I think they're full on going to be not good and targeting one of the ones in this draft. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's going to be a guy that they're going to be targeting because the Niners, I don't know if they'll trade him to. Maybe if they cut him and somebody gets hurt, Seattle might do it, but I don't see that being a big deal. I think they know they're not going to be very good anyway.
If you're a fantasy guy, I would not draft any wide receivers on Seattle.
I usually don't anyway.
Tyler Lockett, I do it every single year, and Tyler Lockett's done very well for me, but I don't know who's going to get him the ball. Drew Lock is not the guy, not Geno Smith either. So you can't sit here and say, oh, well, Tyler Lockett, no.
I tend to stay away from them because they're always so streaky. You had Lockett a couple times, you said.
He's done well.
Isn't he one of those guys, though, that gets like 40 points one week and then he'll get 3 the next week?
Yeah, but that's because of the quarterback play.